What's up, everybody? It is Dingers with the Boys time. We're back with another episode.
Yeah.
And just heads up, right off the bat, we are filming this Saturday. This is before any of the NFL games go, so we will not really be talking about those as much.
Yep.
So
this week, it's all about MLB.
Yep.
October is fastly approaching.
So
postseason is coming.
Most people probably already turned off now that we are talking about MLB.
Yeah, but we're excited about it. This is probably, for MLB fans, the most exciting time of the year. There's some pretty tight playoff races between a few different teams. Contenders are maybe distancing themselves, like showing, hey, no, we're a step above everybody else.
If you had to pick your World Series right now, AL, NL, who would you pick?
I think the Phillies.
So, Phillies on NL, who would you pick on AL?
Baltimore.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Baltimore's in the wild card seed right now.
Yeah.
They are only down by
two and a half, 3.5.
They're down by 3 games as of filming this.
Yeah.
From the Yankees.
So honestly, that could change. I know they have one more series versus the Yankees.
Mm-hmm. They all have around 15 games left.
Yeah, 14, 15,
Yep. So it's a little. So it's what 4 or 5 more series or so. So it's definitely like coming down to it.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like you have a pretty good grasp, honestly, on who's going to win each division. Because the closest ones, that's the closest one right now. Yankees lead Orioles by 3 games in the AL East. Guardians lead Royals by 3 games in AL Central. And Astros lead the Mariners by 4.5 in the AL West.
Yeah.
All the rest of them pretty much
are decided.
It's not technically decided, but it's pretty much decided. And then
it'd be tough for the Dodgers, I think, to lose. I think they're only 5 games ahead.
But it's like it would be hard for these teams to lose.
I'm pretty sure they might play Arizona at least.
So it could. I mean, if they get swept and stuff, you never know. Honestly, it's really some different seedings that it's going to come down to, and those last 1 or 2 possibly in the wild cards. I mean, Atlanta and the Mets, they're only 1 game apart right now. The other one's Chicago's 6 games out right now. St. Louis is 7 games out.
Yeah, not the White Sox.
No.
The Cubs.
Yeah. Chicago White Sox are 66 games out.
Yes.
Chicago Cubs are 6. No.
I do not think the White Sox are going to make it.
Dude, they're terrible. We'll talk about them in a second. But playoff race, so you think Baltimore and Philly, huh?
I think so.
Okay,
I don't know.
And you think Philly's going to win it?
Honestly, I don't think AL stands a chance against the NL this year. I think you have the Phillies that are looking really good. The Dodgers are looking really good. Who else in the NL? I think Braves are always really good. Milwaukee surprised me a lot this year.
They're 10 games up on their theirs right now.
I knew that division. I think that division in the whole entire MLB is one of the weaker ones.
Yeah. Arizona, too, they're still kind of in that wild card race a little bit. But they lost last year in the World Series to the Rangers.
Yeah.
So maybe. It's kind of crazy. Texas isn't even in it at all.
I mean, Texas, they've had a lot of injury problems, whole year. They just got Max Scherzer back, and Jacob deGrom made his MLB debut. Not MLB debut, but season debut. But he was out all season.
Yep.
Just Texas.
It's a tough one.
They had a rough year, but it's so hard to repeat. We talk about that in NBA. It's no different for MLB.
Well, that's in the last 4 years, nobody's repeated. The Astros came the closest. They got beat in 2021, but then they won it in 2022. So they came the closest. Dodgers are always up there, but they just seem not to kind of finish it,
They always struggle a lot in playoffs.
I thought Atlanta would be in playoffs for sure.
Well, Atlanta, they lost Ronald Acuna Jr. early in the season. I know they had another big. Oh, that Spencer Strider.
Oh yeah,
another their ace. They lost. Chris Sale has been absolutely huge for Atlanta, though. That was an amazing pickup by Atlanta. It's honestly
and they're still playing
Atlanta
pretty good. You think that Atlanta's gonna make it? Yeah. Honestly, if I would have to say right now, I would say the Mets are gonna drop out. Atlanta's gonna go in.
No, Mets
like
are
me personally.
Mets are a hard team. Like they're a hot team right now.
Well, that's where. So in the NL wild card right now, San Diego's number 1. They're 1.5 game up. Arizona is 2. They're 1 game up, and then Mets are at even, and Atlanta's at 1.
Yeah.
So they're all within 2.5 games.
Yeah.
For 3 spots. 4 for 3 spots.
The National League is a lot more tighter races than the American League.
Yep.
American League, how the standings are right now, I think that's how it's going to end. Yeah, there might be some seeding.
I don't know exactly who plays everybody, but depending on who Detroit, Seattle, Boston play, there's a chance they could sneak up into that wild card, but they need Baltimore, KC, Minnesota, especially probably Minnesota. They need them to like kind of lose a few. And so
how the seeding is if you're a 1 or 2 seed, so right now it'd be New York is the 1, you get the bye.
Yep.
And
that first series is only 3 games, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's a best of 3 for the first series.
Yeah.
And then it goes to 7 after that. For the
next. I'm pretty sure it's the higher seed gets all 3 games at home.
No way.
I'm pretty sure. Like, I think that's what they changed last few years.
So you're saying, like right now, it would be Houston and Minnesota. You're saying Houston gets all 3 home games?
Yeah, let me verify, but I'm 90% sure.
I'm like 10% sure that it's not. No. That you'd think that they would do at least like. I guess it's hard to do 1-1-1. You can't really do that. But we should have looked this up. Now we're.
Yeah, so each wild card series game will be played in the home park of the team with the higher seed. So
all
the number
3 games.
3 and 4 seeds will have the hosting duties. The games will be scheduled to take place in a 3-day window, so the division winners with byes are not forced to wait around.
Wow.
It's beneficial.
So you really want to be in that 3-4 instead of that 5-6. Like that's okay. So that makes it a little more interesting even on the AL side because Baltimore right now is 1.5 games up on KC for that final like home field in that first 3 at least. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. I don't remember for sure when they changed that. I know it was very recent.
Do you think home field is that big of a deal in baseball?
I
think you're just so familiar with your park.
Yeah.
So maybe that.
I think the biggest thing with
like fans wise, I don't think it's actually as big. It's not that big of a deal.
I think actually it's less beneficial to be a division winner, like and be like a 1 or 2 seed in the MLB across all 4 major sports. I think it's the least helpful to be one of those top seeds, only because you have to wait. I think
but
waiting.
It sounds like it's only going to be like 4 days that they're waiting, so it's not that.
But still,
really.
Like 4 games,
it could be. I mean, when you're playing for a few months where it's 1 game maximum or 1 day.
I mean, you think about it, like players they're used to only having 1 day off, if that.
Yeah, and
now
then you throw 4 or 5 in 4.
That's
I guess
enough to. It could sway both ways. It could help you like recover and get over injuries and stuff, so you do come back blazing. But it also, if you,
you saw that with the Rockies in 2007.
Exactly.
I mean, they had a lot more than 4 game days.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if the Rockies had them be a 1 or 2 seed, they wouldn't have. I don't think they would have won the series that they won.
Yeah, who knows?
I think the biggest reason why they made that run is because they just kept on playing and playing and playing. They had no time to rest.
No time to think about it or anything.
Oh man, like look how many games we've won.
Yeah.
So
I think for them too, it was just no pressure. It's like, all right, we weren't supposed to be here and stuff, kind of thing.
Like I said, it could be beneficial for a team. Like if a team has some injuries and maybe some pitchers that they want extra days off or whatever, it could be beneficial to have that 1 or 2 seed or if you are significantly better at home than you are away, of course you want that higher seed to guarantee, like, hey, we're going to have more games at home. But, yeah, I think home field advantage I don't think really exists in MLB. The only team...
I think you have some, but it's not... I think out of the four major sports, it's probably the least.
I think the only team that really guarantee or not, I think benefits from it is Philly. I think Philly is they go crazy.
Well, that's what, I think to a point, like even at Rockies games, like people are yelling at different times. It's just not that extreme kind of thing, I think the biggest thing is just the park so well, and that's kind of like what it is.
Yeah,
but. I know you told me this stat earlier. This is kind of a crazy stat. In the last 17 World Series, or the last 17 World Series champions, they have all scored at least 15-plus runs in at least one game during the regular season.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely crazy.
That's crazy. And this year, I guess we can say St. Louis, but let's just keep out St. Louis because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
They'd have to have everything go right for them to make
even Seattle is a little iffy. But this year, there's 4 teams that realistically have a shot at the playoffs that have not done that.
Yep.
And that's Atlanta, Cleveland, Houston, Seattle.
Yeah. Which, it's crazy because Houston is leading their division, and they've got a four-game lead right now. Cleveland is leading their division with a 3.5 game lead, and then
Atlanta's 1 game back on the wild card.
Atlanta's 1 game back on the wild card, which a lot of you're not the only one. Everybody thinks that Atlanta's going to get in. So those are 3 major teams that.
Well, especially Cleveland and Houston right now are the 2 and 3 seed right now in the AL.
So it's
crazy. It's not like it's just like we're barely getting in. Now there is 14, 15 games left. So who knows? Maybe these guys get
got a chance.
But when you told me that, I'm like, that's kind of a crazy stat.
It would be it's one thing if there was, the last 5 winners or the last something, but 17 straight years, that's happened. That's insane. I think, you wouldn't be crazy if you say that, Cleveland, Houston.
That's why the Rockies didn't win in 07, dude. They didn't score 15-plus runs.
Maybe. I
actually don't
probably
know. I don't know. But, was that the last year, or first year it happened?
Maybe. Rockies, it's actually funny when I was looking up, stats like this to make sure, those teams hadn't. Rockies are actually tied with Oakland for the most runs scored in a single game. They both scored at least 20. They both scored 20 runs in a single game.
I thought you were going to say most runs scored against or something.
I don't know. They might.
Which they probably are up there.
They probably are up there. But
that's kind of crazy.
Sucks. But yeah.
Interesting.
They're actually high scoring. So Oakland, I think,
at least a few of the games. Yeah, especially the Rockies and Oakland. That's, they both kind of stink.
2 teams that are not been great.
Well, that brings me to the next point.
Yep.
Chicago White Sox, they have it. They're going to lose the most games this year.
Yep,
but then Rockies are kind of flirting right there with the second most. Right now, we're 56 and 92. Miami's 55 and 93. We both have 14 games left.
Yep.
Do you think the Rockies get the second most losses, or do you think the Miami?
I would say
there's
Miami.
A couple other teams that are a few games up, like Oakland, I think, has won 61 games or something like that. But
I would say Miami will lose more. Not even looking at, the schedules or anything, but I would say Miami. I think Colorado has a slightly better offense than Miami.
It seems like the Rockies have done better than that first, month or 2 of the season.
Yeah,
they still have sucked.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
It's weird because usually the Rockies are the opposite. They usually start hot, and
it's not like we're playing great, but it's hey, we've actually done better than.
But for Colorado to not get 100 losses,
we were saying earlier, I think that's a good season.
Have to
honestly,
say it's a victory.
Well, it's not a good season, but it's I didn't think they were going to.
That's a plus.
But back to the White Sox. Right now, they're 33 and 115.
Yep.
14 games left. And so I was looking, and they say in the modern era it's the Mets.
Yep.
However, back in 1899, and I know it's not modern era, the Cleveland Spiders They played 154 games, so 8 less.
Yeah,
not that big of a difference. They went 20-134.
Yeah.
So,
insane.
wow. I mean, it was a lot different. And then in 1962, the New York Mets went 40-120.
Yep.
That's 160 games, so they had 2 less games as well. Yep. Which you pointed this out too. They actually won the World Series in 1969, 7 years later, which is kind of crazy. They were an expansion in 1962 though too, so it was a little different. But then I found this really crazy. In 2003, the Detroit Tigers, they ended up finishing 43-119. So they have the second most, like that, 119. However, through 156 games, they were 38-118. They won 5 of their last 6 games.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I bet you that year everybody was like, oh, all right, they're going to be the most, and then, they won 5 of the last 6.
I don't know, like, it's not looking good for White Sox fans.
I don't see how.
They're not going to break that record.
That's right.
They do play the Angels in 2 series. They have 2 series versus the Angels. Angels are also not a great team. Mm-hmm. They're not nearly as bad as the White Sox, but they also play...
I think they're around 62 wins right now, I think it was.
They also play San Diego, though. San Diego probably going to sweep them.
Yeah. Well, San Diego got a lot of stuff to play for still as well. Yep. I think... I just don't... Like, all right, 14 games they have left. You're telling me they're going to go 8-6? Well, no. Even if they go 8-6, then they're the highest. So they have to go 9-5.
They have to have a winning record.
And it's not even just like 6-5. They have to go 9-5 over the last 14 to tie the Mets.
Yeah.
10-4 to not get there. I just don't see it'll happen.
I should have looked up their record before, but in like the last 50 games, maybe won 5.
Yeah.
Or less than 10 probably.
It's crazy because I thought this is how the Rockies season was going to be. I really, truly thought. And it's not like the Rockies are that much better, but it's like, hey, we're still 23 wins higher than them.
And it sucks because like baseball, I think, is extremely hard to build in the draft too because
no free agents are going to want to go there.
Yeah, no free agents are going to want to go there. And you just have to get lucky with your draft picks.
It's like you can build, but it's going to take a few years. Mm-hmm. Like they could have another season exactly like next
year. That's why I wanted to point out that Mets team, it took them 7 years to get good again.
Yeah.
And they got good. They won the World Series, but man, it's rough like waters.
It's a lot of different how it is now as well.
Yeah.
I think back then there wasn't as much free agency either. Most people pretty much were playing. If you're playing, you're playing for that team pretty much.
That Mets team also had Hall of Famers Tom Seaver and Nolan Ryan on their teams.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Maybe a future Hall of Famer for the White Sox.
Well, if you're a good player for the White Sox, you got to tell me you don't want to be there.
I don't know. It's
like
interesting.
I get you want to get paid, and you're probably getting paid a ton, but it's like, dude, winning 33 games in the season,
pretty sure
that would get old.
I'm pretty sure the only really top prospect that the White Sox have right now, his name is Colson Montgomery. He's a shortstop. A lot of people say he's going to be like Corey Seager, who plays for the Rangers. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think he's going to be a Corey Seager 2.0.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. But that's, of what I know, the only top prospect, really, really top prospect that the White Sox have in their organization. So,
and you never know; it can change throughout years. Did you hear about that minor league player down? I think it was St. Louis Mets. I think he played for, and he ended up getting cut because he was a catcher. I think he got picked 5th round this year, and he got cut after the season. But I think it was 2 games to go in the season. This was in the playoffs too. He got caught by tipping off batters what pitches were coming.
Yeah.
And I read this thing, and it was saying that it's because he was just kind of done. He didn't want to play anymore. Like, you got 2 games left in the season. Is anybody else going to ever pick him up again? Probably not.
I don't know. It's depends on how good of a prospect he is.
I mean, he was
especially
he was
catchers,
in the 5th round, though.
Especially like catchers, like everybody needs a catcher.
Yeah,
like you need catcher depth is huge.
And I think, I said, I think he was 5th round, so it's not like he was no slouch or anything. And so it's like, dude, you just ruined your entire life. Like,
maybe
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because you wanted to go home a couple days early.
Yeah.
It's like,
but then maybe then again you could get into like, well, if you lost the passion of the game, that's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Is especially in those lower leagues. If you're not playing because you just love the game, then you got to rethink your career.
Yeah.
But
I mean, okay, do that, but rethink it 2 days later.
Yeah.
Like, dude, get through the freaking. You know how many times at work I'm like, oh my gosh, man, it is Thursday. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree. It is,
dude. What are you
silly,
doing, man?
but...
I just don't understand. I don't understand at all.
Well, yeah.
But no. So the baseball, it's going to be fun going into the last couple weeks. You know, another league that's just or actually, I want to say this really quick. Okay, Ohtani, 47 home runs, 48 stolen bases. Is he going to get to 50-50, you think?
I hope so.
I think he's going to.
I think he will.
I think he's going to. I think he's going to be the NL MVP as well.
Easily.
And then Aaron Judge on the other side, I think he's going to be the AL MVP.
Easily.
He's got 52 home runs. He finally, I think it's 17 games or 16 games or something like that of home runs. 130 RBIs, first in both those categories. He's second in batting average at 312.
Yeah.
I thought it was close there for a while, but Bobby Witt has kind of bounced ahead of him quite a bit now. He's at 333 over this kind of drought. Because I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to see him get like the Triple Crown, you know, but I don't think it's going to happen now. I mean, Bobby Witt has to really not do good in the last 14 games, and Aaron Judge has to kill it.
They got a lot to play for, so
yeah. But just want to, you think Ohtani's going to get the 50-50?
I think so. First player to ever get that. Huge for the sport, huge for young players, and
just think he didn't pitch at all this year.
Did you see?
And maybe that helped. Maybe that helped him on these.
Did you see the Dodgers have not ruled him out pitching in the playoffs?
Oh, really?
They're talking about it. He's
Interesting.
warming up. He's been doing some bullpen sessions and
would they
stuff.
put him in the playoffs though? Like, you don't pitch the entire year.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean, I know you're good, but it's like
if Ohtani comes out and says, "I feel 100%, I am good."
Would you put him in as like a reliever first? Just to see, or not even a reliever, like maybe like that middle guy, like, hey, let's see if you can get an inning or two in the 6th or 7th.
You would start him. You could use him as an opener and say,
see how it goes.
Hey, you got 1 inning. If that 1 inning goes good, we'll throw you out for a second one.
And just kind of keep playing it inning by inning almost.
But he'll be probably on a pitch count, if anything.
Yeah.
It'll probably be like
that would be
pretty
crazy.
Strict pitch count, I would guess, too. Maybe like a 30 or 45 pitches. That should get you
a couple, 2, 3.
2. If you're really good, it will get you like.
I mean, if he's 3, pitching great,
but realistically, for a pitcher like him, it's probably more like 2.
Interesting. I didn't hear that would be crazy, man.
Imagine having that like as a thing up your sleeve as a manager. Be like, oh yeah, here.
Oh, Ohtani's going to
throw
pitch
Ohtani
now,
out there.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Switching gears though, going to WNBA. They're in their last week and a half or so of their regular season as well. Pretty much all of the top teams have 3 games left. Indiana has 2 games, but other than that, the top 10 have 3 games left.
Yep.
These ones are pretty much set. It's pretty much going to be New York 1. Minnesota and Connecticut, they're kind of battling for that 2-3 spot. Connecticut or Minnesota's right now 1 game up on Connecticut. And then kind of the same thing on the 4-5, Vegas and Seattle. They're 1 game apart. Indiana's pretty much set in that 6th spot. And then you got Phoenix at 14. And then the final playoff spot it's like definitely going to be a battle these last 3 games. So Yeah, Washington, Chicago, and Atlanta. Washington and Chicago are tied right now. Atlanta's 1 game back. And so right now, I believe Washington has the
they just took it back, I think, last night.
Yep. Yeah, because it was Chicago. I think Washington just got it back. But it'll be interesting because Washington plays Atlanta, who's 1 game back. So if Atlanta wins that game,
Atlanta's in.
Who knows? Then they got New York and Indiana. Chicago has Phoenix, Atlanta as well, and then Connecticut.
Yeah.
And then Atlanta has Washington, Chicago, and then New York. So Atlanta, to a point, almost controls their own destiny, even though they're the outside looking in right now because they play both Washington and Chicago. You go 3-0, even if you go 2-1, you might get into the playoffs.
Yeah, especially because that's not even counting because New York, they win 1 game and they lock up the number 1 seed.
Yeah, they're pretty much going to end. Because they're probably not going to be playing. Probably not their starters. I mean, they might a little bit, but it's definitely not going to be anything.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Connecticut could be playing that last game because they could try to get that 2 seed from Minnesota. Indiana, they'll probably sit, but then you got New York as well for Washington. It's an interesting.
Is it like standard seeding? So would Indiana play Connecticut?
So right now, Indiana would play Connecticut. Yep. So right now, it's the 1-8, 2-7, so forth. Which I actually think that Indiana would rather play Minnesota. I mean, I know I would.
Yeah.
So I know they probably are wanting them to go early. Obviously, they don't. They're not going to say that. I just think they match up a lot better with Minnesota than Connecticut. And then it's crazy because Vegas is the 4 seed. However, they've won the last 2.
Yeah.
They're probably Asia Wilson is going to win the MVP again. Yeah. So this will be her 3rd, actually. Stewart won it last year. Wilson won it the year before. Wilson also won in 2020. Stewart won in 2018. So this was kind of a battle for who was going to get the 3rd because there's only been 3 other 3-time winners ever. Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, and Lauren Jackson. So my guess is Asia Wilson's going to win it. So she'll also be in there. I do think you have a argument. I know a lot of people probably do not agree with this. I think you have an argument for Caitlin Clark being an MVP as well, to be honest with you.
I think only if you value team performance or if you would take Caitlin Clark out of Indiana,
they're not a playoff team.
They're not a playoff team. So I think that's the only way you can argue.
And that's to me, I'm like, Wilson. That is an MVP. Like, that is your most valuable. Because if you take Asia Wilson out, now, you're not one of the top teams.
No, but you're still
I think you're still a playoff team.
Yeah.
Especially if you put somebody, just like a normal average person in there, you know. But Caitlin Clark this year, 19.1 points, 5.8 rebounds, 8.4 assists. Mm-hmm. How is anybody saying that she's not the rookie of the year and Angel Reese is?
I don't know.
I'm not saying Angel Reese, and I will say this from the beginning. I did not think Angel Reese was going to be. I thought she was going to not even really play that much. She has surprised me. She had 13 because she's done now. She has that wrist injury.
Yep.
13.6 points, 13.1 rebounds.
Yeah, great.
Hey, that's amazing. She's leading the league in rebounds. Granted, a lot of those are off of her misses. But still, it's the other team box out. It's like you don't want to get offensive boards.
Yeah, you
box
want
her
to
out.
Put the effort in, and she makes you pay for it. So,
but if it wasn't for Asia Wilson, I will not be surprised when the voting comes out if Caitlin Clark's number 2 MVP, like number 2 on the list.
I could see she's gonna get votes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't. I don't know. Because I'm kind of on the fence of your MVP should be hey, it doesn't matter what team you're on, you're just unstoppable. You're the best player. Mm-hmm. But then on the other side of it is, hey, if they took you off this team, how bad would that team be? So,
I mean, Indiana hasn't made the playoffs in 6 years or whatever, and they're making it this year. I mean, that's huge.
They were very bad last year.
Well, they got the first-round pick again. This is 2 first-round picks in a row, which, all right, that helps as well.
Yeah.
I still would probably take Vegas in a series. I think Indiana, especially if they can get out of the first round, they might. I think they could win their second round. I think they're a dark horse to possibly get there. I think New York's going to win still.
I agree.
New York's playing so great right now. I know them and Vegas have kind of been going back and forth. Connecticut is up there as well. Minnesota, I'm not huge on.
It's kind of funny how I feel like nobody's really worried about Minnesota.
And I don't know why.
I mean, they're 2 seed right now.
Yeah, they're a great team.
Really great all year.
I just don't think.
But yeah, I agree. I think if I was a team, the one team I would not want to face is Indiana right now.
If you were the 2 seed,
I
mean, mine's New York. I wouldn't want to play New York.
Yeah.
Connecticut, they've honestly kind of fallen off a little bit. And then Vegas has had a weird year because they didn't have Chelsea Gray at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Kelsey Plum was hurt for a little bit. They haven't looked like their championship self the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But Asia Wilson's playing out of her mind. And so it's like, is it almost like, all right, hey, playoffs come.
We're going to turn it up that notch. But...
Because I wouldn't be surprised if it's New York, Vegas again in the finals.
Yeah.
Would not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. And Breanna Stewart for New York, it's weird because she's been having a pretty good year. Obviously not as great as some others, but she's still averaging 20 points, 8.4 rebounds, 3.8 assists.
Yeah, I think with the Liberty, it's really been Sabrina Ionescu.
And
seems like she's stepped up.
Yep. I think that's the thing, too. It's like they have these other top players as well.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably right now actually want New York to win because they have Jalen Sherrod, too, on them. They signed her for the rest of the season, so see a little...
I would want Liberty, too, more just because I don't like seeing the same team year
It'd be kind of cool three-peat, though. Doesn't happen very often in any sports, honestly.
I think it's better for the sport, better for their growth, better for...
Honestly, the WNBA is hoping Indiana gets there.
Yeah.
Because of how much buzz Caitlin Clark... Yeah. Even if they lose, they're wanting her to get to the finals.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Even if Indiana doesn't get there this year, it's right around the corner.
Yeah. If they can win their first series...
Yeah.
That's... Yeah. Exactly. Because they're going to be playing one of the top couple teams, for sure.
Especially Paige Becker...
Yeah.
From
UConn.
Connecticut. She'll be in the league next year, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. Could be your number one pick next year. Possibly. I don't know any other huge college players right now, but yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But let's go to our game picks. We can keep talking and stuff. So, CUCSU plays tonight, so we don't know about that. The other ones we've went 1-1 on so far. Miami got destroyed by Buffalo.
Prayers out to Tua.
Yeah, hopefully Tua's all good. But our first one, we're going to do a baseball series.
Yep.
Minnesota at Cleveland. This is a 4-game series, so if it's a tie, we're saying that it no
goes
matter what.
Us. Yep.
You want to go first or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go first. I've not liked how Minnesota has been playing last 10 to 14 days or so. I think they've been really struggling at the plate. I've not liked their pitching really all season, so I'm going to Cleveland.
Okay. I'm going to go the same. I think just Cleveland being at home, I think going into the playoffs, I think they still can catch the Yankees for that number one, and so I think they'd love that, and so I think I'm going to go Cleveland as well. Next Saturday, Utah at Oklahoma State. Right now it's the 12-13, but who knows on that. I'll go first on this one. I'm going to go Oklahoma State. Utah was having a tough game today. I know they were down when we started doing this. Don't know how it ended up. But I think Oklahoma State's going to end up winning that one. I don't know too much about either of those teams, to be honest with you, but just what I know, I'm going to go Oklahoma State.
I don't really know anything about either of these teams either, but I just got a hunch. I think Utah, they're going to pull up a win.
All right, so we're different on that one. And then we are actually going to this game, Tennessee at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They're both going to be ranked. It's going to be a huge game. First SEC game for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast, man.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're both going to go. We're both rooting for Tennessee.
Yep.
I'm going to go Tennessee winning.
Tennessee
I think
all the
Oklahoma
way.
has kind of had not as hard of a schedule. I think Tennessee looks great.
Yeah.
They obviously haven't either, but I think Tennessee's going to get.
I think
it done
this will
for
be
sure.
the first matchup for both teams.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I think Texas. There's a reason why, as of now, Tennessee is ranked number 7 and Oklahoma ranked number 15. Like that's a pretty good gap. I think there's a big reason for it. I'm going Tennessee as well.
Yep.
But I'm so pumped for that game.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to have one next week, but we will definitely talk about this next episode about our experience and everything. And hopefully it's a great game for Tennessee. Hopefully fans aren't too crazy or anything, but it'll be so fun, man. I'm so excited for it. It's definitely stoked. So, but that's all we got this week. I know we were thinking about talking some other stuff, but just kind of got away from us and everything.
Yeah, we talked a lot.
But we'll get some stuff in there. But hopefully you guys liked this week. Again, this was recorded before any of the NFL games, so that's why we're not talking about Bo Nix killing it. So you'll see he's got 4 touchdowns, but we'll see. Kyle hates him, but
no comment.
But we'll talk later.
No comment.
But you got anything else?
No.
All right, that's all we got. Well, we will see you later, alligators. Peace.